July 29th, 1987. France and England signed an agreement to build a tunnel under the English Channel. That's all I could find for today. Today sucks. Welcome to The Revisionists. I'm Brian Flynn.
I'm Zach Powers.
And our guest is a returning champion, I think that's the word, of the show. One of Denver's funniest comedians, one of my favorites. Please welcome again, Jose Macall.
Hey, hello, everybody. That other thing is a lie, but hello, Internet.
Guess which one?
Yeah.
I think you'll be surprised. I don't know.
I'm actually a plumber.
Oh, okay. He actually started like screwing around with the mic stand, and I'm like, oh, he is a plumber, but that's not what they do.
Well, I have nothing to contribute to the plumber bit. It's
gold. It's perfect as is.
Like I have Mario references. I don't know anything about plumbing. But if you are new to this show, every week we discuss a person or event from history. One of the people on the show gives an account of the real history. The other person gives a completely crazy bananas bullshit alternate version of the history. And at the end, the third person, and possibly you, the listener, if you pay for the right, much like in American democracy where money makes your vote matter more, you can also vote.
That's where we got the idea, yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that also reminds me that previous episode, which was Teddy Roosevelt featuring Zach Welch.
Nice.
That the audience vote actually canceled out the judges' vote, but it was a tie in the end, based on the math. Which, what else would it be based on? So we're going to go with the judges' vote of the true history winning out. Again, back to just arbitrary hierarchy deciding.
Yeah, I find that to be a complete and utter humiliation and mistake because that was I thought that was at least a decent alternate history. Even though the jokes didn't land super well sometimes.
I thought it was a very well-constructed story.
The premise was good. The jokes were terrible.
Well, strap in this week because both of mine pretty questionable.
That's my specialty. Yeah.
Yeah. This week we'll be discussing Paul Kruger, part of our series on figures in the history of colonialism, which ended up being a very long series.
Yeah, we just couldn't get enough colonialism, much like colonialists themselves.
Hope this will likely be the last or next to last one before we move on to World War I. So look for that coming up. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, it's going to be from the depressing into the even more depressing.
Oh, let me tell you, if you like colonialism, you'll love bodies trapped in mud, but they're still alive.
Yeah,
it's a great war, you know.
Yeah, that's why they named it that.
Yeah, if you love the slow, quiet oppression that unregulated colonialism and capitalism brings, you'll love when it falls apart and everybody suffers.
Let me tell you, listeners, if you're wearing your I Heart Trenchfoot shirt, you are in for a treat. But this episode, Paul Kruger, Jose, you'll be doing the actual history.
That's right.
And I will be doing the alternate. So, Jose, why don't you go ahead and take it away whenever you're ready.
Alrighty. Paul Kruger. No relation to that famous Kruger
Diane?
we're all thinking of. Yeah, Diane Ernest Kruger. Born October 10th, 1825. The end. No, all right.
Yep, we decided this week to do a stillborn.
Yeah, those are our mini episodes.
I mean, born is generous at that point. All right. All right. Paul Kruger. He's born on a farm in South Africa. And like his family had been there for a while. Like I think his dad had been there for almost like 100 years. And stuff. So they've been there.
Well, not his dad, because his dad was not 100 years old, right?
No, like his dad's side of the family. I'm not sure, whatever
his
it is.
His father was not the crypt keeper, basically.
That's right. Yeah, his dad wasn't immortal, but his family had been there for like a little bit, and he was a Boer, I think is how you say it.
Boer, yeah.
Boer.
Oh, okay. Because the way you pronounced it, I was assuming either he was a tusked pig or he was dull at parties. But
maybe he was a little bit of both.
Yeah. We'll get there.
The photo of him on his Wikipedia article is the baggiest looking photo of a person I've ever seen.
If he was both of those things at the same time, that's almost impressive.
Hell yeah. So the Boers, that means to the Dutch farmer, and I guess to the Africans invader. I don't know.
Yep.
So
turns out they ended up having many words for that.
So his only education was reading the Bible. That's and into adulthood, that was the only book he claimed he ever read.
Yep.
So that's solid. A lot of research and stuff.
I think that one of the things I read is that led him to believe that the Earth was flat.
Yep,
like his whole life.
He was a flat earther right up till the end. He was all about that paper layout or whatever.
Do you think some people who read the Bible don't really give a shit about the religious aspect? They just hate reading. And when they hear the only book you'll ever have to read, they're like, yeah, if it'll get me out of the other ones.
Let me read the worst book for that.
It's a bad book to start on, to be honest. You're right. It is.
Yeah, it's really like...
It's very dense.
Do I eat this plate of poop, or do I just stretch it out over a bunch of meals?
Open up with Harry Potter and then move on to the Bible.
That's how you build a person.
It was a picture Bible, guys, all right? So, in the 1830s, there's this thing called the Great Trek. The Boers, I'm going to be mispronouncing a lot of stuff, they start moving away from where their old colonies were because, like, the British people, the British Empire, they're the big dogs on the scene. And they're just taking and dominating and stuff. So the Boers get upset. And
I've got to say, so you've got Boers, which sounds, I'll be honest, extremely close to Borg to me. And you've got the Great Trek. I'm beginning to think that Gene Roddenberry just picked up a book on this and went to town.
Well, you're going to really be surprised when the Ferengi show up in the... All right, no.
Oh, believe me, you are going to dig my alternate history, baby.
All right. They're doing this Great Trek, and that is like... in the formative years, that's how Paul Kruger grows up. So he's like in this like Oregon Trail kind of situation. Like he's moving on wagons this whole time. And they're also fighting the natives, they're there too. The people that he's a part of, the Boers.
It keeps getting further and further away.
It's going to be 10 syllables by the end of the podcast.
The falcon cannot hear the falconer.
So they're upset at the British because they implemented a lot of rules. Like English only was one of them, and the other one that they didn't agree with was no slavery. They were totally not cool. They were like, we want some slavery. So they're moving away.
When you said English only, I was prepping the joke. Sounds like the rules at every Cracker Barrel, but then I'm not sure about the second one.
By the way, I don't know if anyone else saw that news story about the couple
that
traveling across the country who are just
Cracker.
one short of visiting every Cracker Barrel in the country. but they are heroes and patriots.
That's hey man, life.
And I
goals.
hope they fall just short because that would be way more tragic.
Yeah, they. Man,
Did I just say that? Did I just
brutal.
curse? Did I just curse an old couple?
That would make a great like Alexander Payne movie.
All right. Oh yeah, one thing I did read is that Paul Kruger's family had owned no slaves, and they were actually pretty cool with the British. So they were just kind of going along with the trek.
Just with the pro-slavery people.
Yeah, they're just like, we're here. It's conditions we're in.
Sure.
So in 1836, at 11 years old, he gets into his first battle. They're attacked by like the tribals people and stuff. The Zulus were mad at him and stuff. And he kind of becomes this like crazy frontier dude. He's like Indiana Jones in it. Like he's shooting tigers and rhinos and stuff like in his teen years. And there's like a crazy story during this time of him. At one point, he has an elephant gun. It blows up and blows off part of his thumb. He wraps his hand in tissue paper, goes back to camp, and treats it with turpentine. And then he starts getting gangrenous marks.
Really?
Yeah, so the doctors, of course, are like, you should get that looked at. We want to cut off your hand.
More turpentine, maybe.
Yeah.
This is
That's science at the time,
the least funny one of those Elmer Fudd jokes where his gun blows up in his face that I've ever heard.
Yeah. So his hand is getting mangled. He's getting the gangrene. What he does, instead of letting doctors look at it, is he takes a pocket knife and just cuts off the parts of his hand he doesn't approve of. And then he sticks that part into a freshly killed goat. That's the remedy.
Wow. This is almost...
Look, it's alternative medicine.
Yeah,
okay?
It's holistic. It's... hole in being the...
It's goat holistic.
That's right, yeah.
This is almost timely with the most recent Game of Thrones episode.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. But apparently that supposedly cures him. I don't know how. That's, the magic of the time. Apparently his wound heals, so advice, go find a goat.
So, like, we can't prove anything.
Right.
This is not a definitive FDA-approved statement.
That's right.
But
maybe put your finger in a goat.
Yeah, if you got some gangrene.
If you have gangrene.
Yeah.
Which is strangely has been the slogan of this podcast since episode 1.
I know. We've been waiting for
We've been waiting for the right opportunity.
We've been waiting for the payoff.
For maybe put your finger in a
48
goat.
episodes.
Finger in a goat. If you stub your toe, put it in a cat.
We were trying to bait people into it for 48 episodes. No one bit.
We're going to just announce right now our Maybe Put Your Finger in the Goat t-shirts that we have available now at our Patreon page.
The new sponsor, the Dead Goat
Yeah,
Company.
of course.
All right. He becomes Berghar. I don't know if that's pronounced right either.
Burger.
Burger. Hey, they pronounced it how I wanted to say it. It's the right one. So, I guess at 16, they let him choose from 2 6,000-acre farms. They just give it to... I don't know who's giving it up to give it to him, but he gets a farm, and he marries a lady named Maria Duplessis, who's 14 years old at the time. He's 16. They're, prime time for marriage. And they get married. He becomes what's called a field cornet, which is like an administrator / military guy. Because when you're living out of wagons in Oregon Trail time type stuff, you need to serve multiple hats.
Serve multiple hats.
Or whatever the phrase is. I don't know about words.
Excuse me, top hat. Sorry, I gotta go. I have to go answer to baseball cap real quick.
That's right.
Propeller beanie. Give me a minute. Jesus, get off my ass.
I want to help Fez, but he never fucking tips. That's not... I feel like that could be interpreted as some kind of...
Yeah, I was a...
But it's not.
I was about to hold your feet to the fire, sir.
It was just the first hat. Let's change it for bowler. Bowler
Yeah.
hat
Yeah.
is a bad tipper.
All right.
We cut about 20 minutes of racist hat jokes from this
there's
episode.
a lot of ethnic
Yeah, we're the Jeff Dunham of hats.
Look, this hat is talking. Anyway.
All right. Okay. So he's a dude. He's like making it. He's got his kid wife because he's a kid and stuff. And so Britain's annexing more stuff. He goes on this mission to meet with like these dudes from Portugal to like work out a border and stuff, because like every country at this time is just like, hey, I want to pillage Africa, and they're like, no, I want to take the stuff. So anyway, he's going to Portugal. He meets those dudes along the way, or like somewhere during that time. Maria dies, his wife, from fever, and so he just marries her cousin, Josina Duplessis, or Gezina. I'm not sure. Once again. All
Something like that one I'm not even going to take a stab at.
And basically there's this movement that they want to like unite the people that he's a part of, the Biors. What else we got here? Oh yeah, he meets this dude Pretorius. There's like a dude who's like there's these guys called Vortrekkers at the time, and they're like the chief.
Whoa. Did you say Vortrekkers?
Vortrekkers.
Oh, okay.
Vortrekkers?
Yeah. All right, much better.
Not Borg trekkers, but they are.
Oh, I said Vor, which is much scarier than Borg.
Vor. Anyway, all right. Weird fetishes aside. Pretorius is like this. He's one of these like Trek leader dudes. I'm leading you guys around. There's a whole bunch of them. There's like Pot Guy and all these other guys. Anyway, Pretorius like takes a liking to Kruger, and he's like a big, come with me, I'm exploring stuff guy. And so they end up kind of like coming to this sort of shaky, iffy peace with the Brits because they want to be recognized as an independent state. It's kind of like this will they, won't they thing that just keeps happening for like the rest of the time, basically. Britain makes deal with the Boers, and they're like, hey, no more slavery. And they're like, okay.
Fine.
So what happens is there's this battle. Like the Zulus and stuff come in, they're slaughtering, they're fighting, they're mad. All the war stuff is going on, And they come along to this famous dude's house. What's his name? Livingstone.
Mm-hmm.
Famous British dude. He's another episode probably. Fancy guy. People like him. So they come across his estate.
What sound like his mother? Just like... So have you met my boy? He's very fancy.
Yeah,
people love him.
He's a fancy lad. The people are in yeah. All right. So anyway, the importance of this is they come to this dude's estate. The reason that this kind of like incident is important is part of the deal that the Brits had with the Boers was no more slavery, and then the Boers told the English, hey, but you can't ally with the quote-unquote colored peoples, right? So
I feel like there was probably never much risk of that if I know 18th century British people.
Yeah. It's, they... It's true. So anyway, they come to Livingstone's property. They claim that they found like a weapons repair facility, and like that is kind of what makes things kind of break down, because they're like, hey, you're going back on the deal. You're secretly helping these dudes with the weapons.
God, this is like fucking Saddam Hussein fucking all over again.
This is like, I don't know, like a weapon regular destruction. I don't know what like muskets count as, but. Or whatever kind of guns they had. But that's kind of the deal, is like there's like a shakiness because they find that they think they're breaching them, and the BRRs, they're taking it's a word I can't pronounce, but basically they start taking what they considered to be indentured servants that they're teaching and raising the right way. It's slavery under another name, and so things break down. Everybody's mad at each other. There's a battle that happens. Kruger once again escaping these crazy wounds. He gets hit by shrapnel in the head. It just knocks him out. He doesn't end up with a plate or nothing.
That's when they learned to stop using coconuts as shrapnel. Also,
There was a 2-week period where he didn't remember who he was until another coconut bomb fixed the condition.
the most fortunate cannon strike in history.
Pretorius dies in 1852. His son takes over, Pretorius' son, and he makes Kruger commandant. All right, he's like it's a big rank. I don't know what they all do, but it's fancy. He's kind of like a military dude and stuff.
That was his previous rank.
Yeah. So Pretorius's kid gets into trouble. Pretorius's kid is like, hey man, the Brits said they would give me all this land. I own all this stuff. And everybody's like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, right? So that causes turmoil. There's conflict. Suddenly, civil war, all right? Between the wanting independence and the tribes, there's also people who disagree ideologically. During this time, this is kind of like ongoing political stuff. It's pretty boring. During this time, Kruger wanders into the wild without food or water, passes out. Some people find him near death. He calls that a religious experience and starts a church.
That's what we call the classic McCandles.
Yeah, he founds a church, the Doppers, and they're like way crazy. You know, he only read one book, so you know, a lot of it is,
and it wasn't Into the Wild, apparently.
Yeah. How to survive? No, none of that. It was, you know, go out in the desert, I guess. Anyway, Civil War, stuff's happening. There's a church. The British annex more stuff. Oh yeah, during this time he kind of becomes a suit. During this time, less with the fighting. Like he fights during the Civil War, right?
I thought you said became a soup during this time.
Yeah, what a weird way to end your story. He kind of became a soup during this time, and I guess that's it.
Anyway, he's a corn chowder now.
Yeah,
he lives on in all of our hearts.
Paul Borscht Kruger.
Takes like a wet hot American summer style twist.
Let's see, where are we at? Okay, yeah. So, during this time, he's become a politician. The only part that about that's really kind of funny is that some of the diplomats that meet with him in Europe describe him as incredibly ugly. Mm-hmm.
And boy, howdy, were they right?
Yeah. So, man, that's brutal when before lots of pictures.
When a diplomat is like,
yeah, dude.
Listen, normally I'm very diplomatic.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna.
But damn, you ugly.
So all the politics stuff is happening somewhere along the line with all his politic, and he becomes president. He's considered kind of he becomes president when. Oh wait, hold on. Boer War I happens. Let's do that. Boer War I. That's where they're fighting the Brits, and they give them a little bloody nose. You know, the big empire. They're like, they're trying to pimp them, and they're just like, no, and they punch them. And the Brits get a bloody nose. They're like, oh, no. And so...
Your British voice is strangely like a leprechaun.
Yeah. Kruger is a civilian only in this war. His fighting days are over. Like I said, he became a suit. So he's
sold out
the troops though from his body.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, took his Ramones poster off the wall.
Totally, yeah, just sold out. He's not doing any of the shooting and all the other war stuff, the running, the gunning.
Wears long sleeves to cover his tattoos.
Yeah, gets a snazzy haircut. All right, so anyway, he's a politician during that time. Between the first and second one, he becomes president. And while president, he gets involved in the corruption trial. He pardons a dude who's basically a grifter, and everybody kind of gets kind of iffy with him. While he's president, there's also a gold rush that happens in that part of town, in that part of the world. And all kinds of people from all over, they got the gold fever, the dwarfs, the Australians, all the people. They start showing up. And...
I don't know who should be more offended by that.
Do you mean...
Fantasy race?
Do you mean like...
Is it like the Middle Earth? So the Middle Earth sense of the...
Yeah,
It's everybody and his
there
brother.
we go.
All right, everybody.
Okay,
yeah.
then yes, Australians.
The fellowship arrives, basically.
Yeah, it's game on, man. There's gold, you know. People go
Australians who are, of
crazy.
course, all half orcs.
Yeah.
Hey, it's right next to New Zealand. It makes sense.
Yeah. They all show up, and you know, progress happens, man. There's gold. There's like integration of like people, and it's real weird that the like Dutch are like, hey man, you're foreigners to when they're you know, we all see what's going on here. Anyway, trains happen. There's a big linking, and in Britain, you know, being the big dogs, they never went away. They start kind of like finagling with the other cultures. You know, they're like, hey Germans, you guys want to kind of get in on
I
this?
just pictured Winston Churchill wearing a big dog T-shirt. It's normally how I picture Joe Biden, and it's just one of those things that's adorable to me. Anyway, sorry.
I like it. So anyway, politics. Everybody's doing this. Boer War II breaks out. The return. The Brits win. That's basically it. You know. But so all this politics, it's real boring. That's why I was like, yeah. So Boer War II breaks out. When that war breaks out, our dude is 74 years old. All right. So he's like an old man. He can't do anything other than just kind of do more politicking and talking like he's been doing. Right. Mm-hmm. The Brits win. They beat the living hell out of the Boers because they're an empire and they, you know, do things. As things turn south for the people, he just dips. He's just like, I'm out. I'm going to Europe. Take it easy. I'm an old man. Him and
old men can get away with ending so many of their sentences that way.
Yeah, just peace out. All right. He leaves. Him and Josina are still together, you know, and all this time they had 16 kids. Not all still around, you know. That's how science went back then. A lot of, you know, they were out of goats and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, bury the child in a goat.
You mean at this point in his life, not all the kids were still around? I thought you were saying not all the kids are still around today. And I was like, yeah, I'm not super surprised by that fact.
I mean, his dad lived for 100 years, you know.
Yeah,
but
they're like Methuselah people or whatever.
Methuselah people, yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, he leaves. He's upset because a lot of the politicking and everything. You know, he feels betrayed by Germany and all these other people who are supposed to help him. He bums around Europe. He's on the French Riviera. Eventually, he dies in Switzerland, and that's pretty much it for Mr. Kruger. He helped. You know, found the Republic, the whole Orange Free State, the Switzerland people. He helped kind of found that. He was like a president. He kind of, you know, had a lot of weird beliefs. You know, he ended up taking one of those, not a slave, but he took one of the indentured servant slaves. You know, he took one of those at one point. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you know, people kind of are split on him, and that's his story, man. He did some things, and that's it with him.
All right, Jose, thank you.
I feel like he did some things, and that's it. Could be.
That's like a Kurt Vonnegut headstone.
Yeah. One day I am not going to do my research for either the true or fictional story, and I'm going to come here, and that's going to be it. That's all I'm going to give you for that week.
Oh man. Well, my alternate history, some shades of difference there. So Paul Kruger was on the Great Trek, was a Trekkie, as we he
have established
the group. Asked and answered. The group of Boers who were walking away from British colonial rule, and they were able to get away because they made paper mache figures of themselves and tricked all the British, and that's how they got a head start.
okay.
Yeah.
So it was a classic Home Alone.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Classic Birdman of Escape from Alcatraz. I got my Alcatraz movies mixed up. Anyway, The Rock. So he walks all the way from the Cape Colony to the Transvaal, which is like sort of where Mozambique is now, which is a very long way. But the whole time he was wearing Skechers brand Shape Up shoes, So when he got there, his ass looked amazing. Okay.
Was this alternate story paid for by Skechers? Is his tombstone gonna read "It's the S"? Paul Kruger, "It's the S."
Damn it, I'm trying to remember their slogan. Any hoozle. So anyway, because of his tight ass, Boers, who were not very well-educated people, but total suckers for a great can, made him their leader. He was actually often heard to remark, the world may be flat, but this ass is round. And then air horns were just popping off everywhere. So one day, the British come over the mountain, as it were, and say, they got a lot of dudes mining gold, and we need you to give them voting rights. And the natives were like, guys, what's up? What's going on? And Kruger pulls his team aside and is like, we're going to take these guys to war, right? And his advisor, Butchie, is like, you have to make it at least look like you tried. So they kind of negotiate with each other a little bit. The Brits do the same, blah, blah, blah. And they have this whole argument where it's like, you're racist, but a slightly different kind of racist than we are, so we need to fight each other. And then natives seeing that argument are like, we know. Yeah. So the Boer War happens, and all the troops are inspired because they're like, I die for that ass. And also because I am incredibly, incredibly racist. Not like the British, who are merely incredibly racist. So they shoot each other a bunch. The British have like more dudes and more bullets, so they win, which is war. And Kruger,
very formulaic.
Yeah, exactly.
It's been
I just solved war, everyone. We don't have to fight another one again. Just the country with more money wins. Wait, I think that causes more problems.
It's been done to death. All right, guys.
Damn Vietnam for fucking that up for me. Anyway, Kruger packs up his sweet dumper and goes into exile. And before he dies, he vows that he will get back at the British where they can't possibly catch him in their dreams.
In their dreams, yeah,
Whoa.
of course.
Yeah. And he haunts the British dreams, making them just slightly more racist than they were before. And that's basically the story of Paul Kruger.
They can't hear him coming because of the
It's
Skechers.
That is a weird sort of revenge he enacted on them.
Yeah, it kind of worked for them accumulating power for a few years, and then in retrospect, it kind of like it's like several generations down the line is when
in 150 years, about half of the population is going to be super embarrassed by this. That was his big revenge scheme.
Yeah, not great at revenge, I will say. Great with the Bible,
A little
except
perturbed.
the kindness and not war and slavery parts.
Yeah, there was a lot of "thou shalt not murder" that he
He maybe couldn't have read all that well.
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
he thought it said "thou shalt murder."
Yeah. Well, the pictures were hard to decipher. That's really the problem.
And to be fair, if you're just reading certain portions of the Bible and just looking at the pictures, you would get the impression that like, oh, I need to murder a bunch of people. And that's the alternate history. That's the alternate history of Paul Kruger. Before we get to judgment, real quick, listeners, as always, we ask that you write and rate and review the podcast on iTunes, because that is super helpful to us. And we've gotten so many, and thank you to everyone who's done that so far. But
especially written reviews are the best, and you don't have to write anything meaning. You can just write, maybe put your thumb in this goat, and that'll be it.
Yeah, iTunes algorithm doesn't check, so, whatever.
Yeah, we're giving away medical secrets here.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. This is like that is like actually a Dr. Oz level medical secret where it's not actually helpful and probably very harmful. So iTunes, you can visit the website, revisionistpodcast.com. There you can read news, ask us a question, leave us a comment, and find links to all of our other stuff. And our especially our Patreon page, where, as we talked about before, you can help support the show. And one of the rewards is voting on episode outcomes, which that will be open when this episode goes up. And also, we have the T-shirts that Jeff Tice designed that are amazing. And once we run out of them, we'll have to do the fucking goat shirt. And also Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're on all of those. Jose, you just got on to High Plains Comedy Festival.
Yeah, August 24th through the 26th. There will be, actual good comics on there with me. So yeah, come hang out, everybody.
Hell
it's
yeah.
It's going to be rad.
That's going to be an awesome show. Zach, back episodes of Stage of Fools are always available.
Oh, that is true. Don't know when the next season starts, but I think they've started filming it, so there's that.
One of my favorite parts about that show is you have to follow news about the Royals. And it seems like an extra form of torture. A little
Fortunately, it rolls out extremely slowly, to be honest with you.
That seems well, I don't know, maybe that is more fortunate.
I feel like, this may shock you, but I feel like there's less people clamoring for the Royals news than, say, Game of Thrones news.
True. As for me, Nighttime Tonight happens the third Thursday of every month, and the next one is going to be August 17th. Come check that out if you are in Denver. It's at the Deer Pile at 9 o'clock.
Hell yeah.
Also, I still at that issue of Cherry Magazine where I have a fiction piece is still available. The fall issue will come out in September, and if you can't track down a hard copy of that, or if you're not in the Denver area, you can go to Cherry Magazine's Patreon page, and for a, I believe, $3 an issue donation, and they come out like four times a year, you can get a digital issue, and there's a lot of really great writing in there, so you should check that out. But Zach, I believe judgment falls to you this episode.
Yes, it does. So clearly, Brian admitted early on that he wrote the alternate history in about 20 minutes last night.
And I wish I hadn't said anything because no one could have told.
And that was maybe evidenced by the fact that he did go for the Freddy Krueger reference, the first thing everybody thought of when they saw the title of this episode.
Yup.
But I'm also going to say there is one thing that may save him. One, we haven't had an alternate history win in a surprisingly long time. And two, I guess there could be some fun to be had with the idea that perhaps to this day, all British people are haunted by a Freddy Krueger stand-in with a nice butt. We could do something with that, maybe.
Terrible face.
Yeah, whatever. We'll find some Winston Churchill episode where he has a disconcerting dream.
Oh, by the way, Winston Churchill in the Boer War is an insane story. If you read a lot of history, Candace Millard's Hero of the Empire is an amazing book. I don't particularly like Winston Churchill all that much. Like, I don't hate him, but he's whatever to me. But that book is amazing. Check that out.
Nice.
Plug for a person who has never heard of us.
All right. Why don't you buy that book and read it in some Skechers and, have a nice night while putting your finger in a goat.
And tone and put your finger in a goat.
So, yeah, for the reason that it's been a number of weeks without an alternate, and I think we need a good shake-up, I'm going to actually submit my vote for the alternate this time.
All right.
Well, upset.
Believe me, I was not expecting that in the 17th minute of writing that. listeners, the
a lot less racism in the alternate. And there's a Skechers. There's I'm for it.
It's got like that hip new Skechers attitude
Yeah,
that everyone's
yeah.
been looking for.
I'll be honest, Jose. Both Brian and I received a lot of money from Skechers.
Skechers is now out of
We're
business.
talking $15, $16.
And they both each gave us one right shoe. So, that's just half off your next pair. Well, listeners, voting is now open. For everyone here at the Revisionists, I'm Brian Flynn.
I'm Zach Powers.
I'm Jose Macall. Oh.
You raised your hand so slowly. Have a good time.